what's included with our HL100 is the laser itself. We have a small self-centering locking nut that centers from 7/8 of an inch up to 3 inches, and then a large locking nut which expands up to 4 3/4, and an adapter plate to use over larger holes and steel studs. And then also included is a die-cast torpedo with a 45 vial. If you drill holes in a row through studs or floors, I have to show you this laser. It is one of the most innovative tools we have in our line right now. And it's simple. As you can see, there's not much to it. I'm going to show you on this model that we've designed. And this model represents a floor, a wall, and a roof deck. This right here is what we call a vent loop. Now, on a vent loop, this is the drain and this is the vent. Both of those have to slope at between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch per foot. The copper line here has to be level. So whenever we drill through studs in a wall, let's just say we had to go through 5 studs. We have to measure up and over on every stud, okay? So if we had 5 studs to measure on, we'd have to measure 10 times, okay? We'd have to measure up and then over, up, then over, up, then over. And if at any point on that we mark the wrong number, we cannot re-drill that hole and the pipe won't fit. With the HL100, all we have to do is measure 3 times. We have to measure up and then over. Now what we would do then is we would drill our first hole, okay? Now the laser itself fits right into the hole, and we put this self-centering nut on there. And this nut will fit the laser in a hole that varies from 7/8 of an inch all the way up to 2 3/4. So what I'll do is I'll actually put this in the hole, and I'm going to put the nut on there. It self-centers the laser right in the hole. Now on the other side of the laser here is the on-off switch. It's a little button. I turn the button on. Now on the top dial here, this dial here controls level or slope. And if you look at the laser here, there's indicator rings in the vial. And so when we're running a hot or cold water, we want the pipe to be level. But if we're running a vent or a drain, we want it to slope between 1/8 of an inch per foot and 1/4 inch per foot. So if we were doing a vent right now, what I would do is first I would dial in slope. And if I touch the bubble against the middle ring, I'm at 1/8 of an inch per foot. If I turn it a little bit more, touch the bubble at the third ring, I'm at 1/4 of an inch per foot. Now with the side dial here, all I do is I can steer it left and right. As soon as I line up with this third mark over here, all I do is I drill the dot and just keep going. So I'm going to put it in the next hole to show you how that works. We have the dot right here. As soon as we drill that hole, it shines through and hits the other stud. And what it's doing is it's measuring from the center of the hole all the way through, and it lines up the holes perfectly. This laser, on average, will save you 45 minutes to an hour of layout time on a custom home. When we were talking about holes in a row through a wall, you have to keep in mind that the measurements are at your chest level, between waist and chest. When we get into the next application, we're talking about holes in a row through a floor. What makes that difficult is the floor is above you, 8 feet or 9 feet up in the air. So all your measurements are up in the air. When you climb up a ladder, make a measurement, move the ladder over, make another measurement. So it takes a long time. It's a lot harder to do. And also in a floor, especially nowadays, you'll see more and more joists like this being used. They're called TJIs. And as you can see, it's a lot more difficult to get your measurements on your TJIs with the shape of the TJIs, right? Another problem that the contractors have is there's no easy reference for horizontal on where to mark it. Behind you, you have your steel, or 8 feet in that direction, you have your foundation. None of it's easy to reach. So again, what the HL100 has done is it's made a tough application a lot easier. We still have to get the location of the first hole, up and over. On the second joist, all we have to do is get over, because again, the up and down is controlled by the laser. So now here's another little different situation, is because it's a TJI, we're going to take what was the expansion nut before, and we're going to put it on the laser backwards. And what that's doing is it's giving the laser body standoff. So now when we put it into the hole and use the self-centering nut, the bottom beam of the TJI isn't getting in the way. But now earlier I told you that the problem with the floor is it's up above you. Well, the laser also works upside down, because we're working overhead, right? So now we go through the same process. This time the on-off button's on this side, right? So now on the top dial here, now we can dial in slope, or we can dial in level, right? There's level. Now at the side dial, we're going to steer it again to the second measurement. Now when we steer it into place, we do the same process as in the wall. We drill the dot and just keep drilling. Holes in a row through the floor. Simplified. The third application we're going to talk about is vent to roof. We talked about holes in a row through a wall and holes in a row through a floor, both which are difficult applications that are made easier with the HL100. Vent to roof is a frustrating application made easy. Every toilet and every sink in every house and every commercial building has to vent out through the roof. And it's very frustrating when the contractor has to find out the location of this pipe and where it goes through the roof 15 feet up higher in the air. So what we do here is this laser does plumb now. There's a vial on top of the laser right here that when I set the laser down on its body, I have these two dials here that I'm going to dial in like a transit level until the bubble is centered in the ring. It's very quick and easy. Get a couple of quick dials. I'm centered now. That fast. Next thing I do is because this hole here measures 4 3/4 of an inch, the reason is a 3-inch fitting can fit through that hole. I have a larger hole in the laser. So I take this plate here that comes with the kit and I put it on the laser. Then I take the small nut that brings me up to 3 inches and put it in I put it in the larger nut. They lock together, and now it goes up to 4 3/4 inches. I then take the laser, pop it in the hole, spin the nut on. It centers just like that. I turn it on, and I'm done. It's now giving me the location of where the pipe is going to penetrate through the roof, directly plumb above the pipe. The HL100 was not only designed to work in wood, it's also designed to work through steel studs. All we have to do is take the backer plate that was designed for larger holes, insert it on top of the laser, and then we put the laser in the open side of the stud. Put it in like that. Take a small locking nut, put it on there. Now the laser self-centers in a hole on a steel stud also.